Okay, so in this section, I'm going to get into just a few things because this is really basic stuff. And one of the things I want to point out, because people a lot of times when they see me do exercises or show this kind of stuff, they say, "Oh, yeah, that's just basic movement stuff." I'm like, "Yeah." Well, what they're missing is because it's basic, because it's simple. That's exactly why it works. The more complex you make something, the more likely it's going to fail. Von Clausewitz said it best: no plan survives initial contact. I'm all about that way of thinking. Ruthlessness trumps everything. And so while I'm showing all this stuff, you have to understand this is the reason why in Warrior Flow, we put so much emphasis on people developing their body as best they can, so that when they gotta give battle and they just start windmilling on people, the last thing they have to worry about is what to do with their body. Because the enemy gets a vote in the fight. You don't know what he's going to do. But if you have the ability to adjust, to get ahead of their movement, or just move better, why wouldn't you want to be able to move better than another person in a fight? I mean, makes sense to me. So the simplicity of these exercises, do not underestimate them, right? This is what's going to give you, like I said in the previous video, that nimbleness. So one of the things, it makes me laugh every time I think of this stuff, that Grandmaster Perkins used to do, and I've talked about this in other videos, but I like talking about this stuff and demonstrating it, what I call monkey foot kung fu. And for those who had the pleasure of working with him with kicking, where he's actually working with you and kicking back and showing you stuff, the stuff he could do with his feet, I'm telling you, it was like he had like 8 hands on his legs. And what he would do is these little things with his feet, where he used his feet like another pair of hands. And so he would, do things like this, like he would be able to circle the leg. So one of the things you can practice is circling your leg, putting it behind you in different positions, and just circling the leg, bringing the knee up. And what you're doing is you're developing the coordination in both the hip flexors and the knee. The other thing you want to do is bring the foot up, and then you want to circle the foot and really feel the muscles, and this is key, feel the muscles working, right? Then doing things like this, what I call pressing on the gas pedal, pressing on the brake. And what you're doing here is you're training these muscles to develop that touch. When you drive a car, how do you know how much pressure to put on, the brake or the gas pedal to control the car? You just know. So you can do the same thing with your feet. Our feet have tremendous sensitivity. I also like to bring the foot up and bring it across, these kind of things like this. And the reason is so if I need to put my foot on someone and press against their leg to be able to prevent them from moving somewhere, or break them down kind of shotgun style, like we used to do in wrestling, we would okie up on the leg, only we're not actually hooking the leg. We're only using the foot so we can disengage quickly. So I can get the same effect, but not becoming so decisively engaged that if they fall, I fall with them. So you do these little monkey foot or monkey foot kung fu things. The other one I like to do is lifting the foot. And as I lift the leg, you'll notice there's this kind of hooking motion going on with the foot and the leg as it goes outward. Then I go back the other way, but using the heel. Sometimes I'll use the instep, but using the heel. And what I'm doing is, as I'm using my feet like this, or my legs like this, clearing, moving their feet, breaking balance as I step. You probably remember in the other video where I talked about the vacuum walk. This motion in here, this is the reason why this is so crucial to develop those hip flexors. Says if I step into a person and I want to sweep them in any direction, I want to have the control, whereas I have the stability in my balance that I can now use the power and strength of my leg or my foot to be able to break their balance. One other one that he used to do that I can consider part of the monkey foot kung fu stuff, I call it, crouching tiger kind of stuff. And that is being able to balance on one leg and use your other leg like a tool. And what he would do is he would get up on the ball of his foot, balance on the other leg, and using the ground for leverage and push against your leg in different positions. And for those who felt him do this, the torque is tremendous. It feels like your bone's gonna break, because he would have a way of actually trapping, I'll demonstrate here, turn aside a little more, where he's up on the ball of his foot, but he would now use his knee and trap your leg in different positions and use the leverage of his knee to control your leg where you couldn't bend your leg. Or he would start torquing and pushing inward where you can feel, because now his mass is pushing against you, plus the strength of his leg pushing from the ground, you literally feel like your knee's gonna come apart. Absolutely amazing ability. So this is one of the other things that I practice, and sometimes I just move my hands and I just practice doing this. The other one he would do is he would put his leg against you and have the heel off the ground, and his body would be touching you. And instead of doing this, he would actually sit. So your leg would be touching. He would actually sit. So I'll kind of demonstrate it here, where he's here, and then he would actually sit on your leg, straightening your leg out. And you literally feel from your knee all the way up to your hip like it's going to pop out of the socket. And that's because he's increasing, by bending his leg and putting it against yours, he's increasing the range of motion in here that he has. And by sitting, he can now vary how much he has to straighten his own leg up, but he never straightens it all together. Absolutely amazing ability. But these are things you can practice on your own. And then, of course, if you're practicing with a partner, I only recommend that, you use common sense and caution, because these things are inherently dangerous. But the key is you got to practice this stuff. You got to put the time in. And you don't have to do it even as long as I'm showing here in these videos. You really don't. You just need to do it long enough to where the body starts responding, where you start developing that nimbleness where I can kick, bring my leg back, step somewhere else, kick again, do a hook kick, whatever I got to do. You're just trying to develop yourself to be able to do whatever it is you may need to do, because none of us knows what we got to do in a real situation until we got to do it. It's the way it is. Right? I don't have a crystal ball like anybody else. I got to deal with the situation. All I'm doing is dealing with motion. But if I can move better with my body and control my body better, that's a huge advantage.